Okay, that's sidetrack. So that's the animals, and it goes on. So we could stop them from any method possible and stop the trees. We'd have no field trials in this country. There's only one vaccine that's been allowed for equine influenza, the horse flu, for some horses being exported. That's a live thing that's been allowed into the environment. It may not have been used at this point, I hope not, but some countries want the vaccine to go in at a certain time before the horses are exported, and they reckon it works for them. They don't need to do that. Popping back to Scion now. Scion recently went to the EPA, which is the old IRMA, and said we want a determination around a different sort of technology that we think probably shouldn't be called GE, and we want to see whether you're going to treat it like GE or we're going to be able to use this, and if we don't, if it's not going to be too like GE, we'll be able to use it without any notification to the public, and therefore it won't have to be a field trial or any containment. They can just do it anywhere or whatever. So it's some new names for me. ZFN1 is probably the best one to think, or called zinc fingers, and tails, TALES. I'll ask Jack Hyman when I catch up with him later more about this. So the EPA's staff had a look at this, and they did a recommendation that the EPA works, you do an application, the staff appraise it, make their judgment. They might go out and get some submissions, and this one they didn't particularly ask for it, but Sustainability Council went to them saying, hey, we're a bit worried about this. They said enough that they ultimately went to them for an opinion, and it was included. This is out of a report that I can get to you, and I just cut and pasted a couple of things, didn't cut and paste too well. So some of the staff that did a report, and this is out of their conclusion, which is it's not a huge report, it might be 9 pages or something, but the staff advice offers a recommendation to the panel that then decide finally. So these are sort of outside experts theoretically that then decide these decisions, like all those field trials. The recommendation was that the organisms produced using ZFN and tails should be classed as being genetically modified. They said, nah, sorry, look, this stuff is so close, effectively you're cutting out some gene material, you're leaving a gap and you're reinserting something else. Effectively it's genetic modification, and that's what we recommend that the panel takes on, but it's over to the panel, the DMC, they call its decision, whether it's there. This is Scion, who's looking for a way around the back. Arbigen, the big American outfit. The panel is Louise Malone, Helen Atkins, Kerry Lane. Check those names out, do a bit of Googling. Helen Atkins pops up a bit. She should not be on that panel making these sorts of decisions. No more than Kieran Alborough, who was with Hawke Research, in the same smoker room as the plant and food researcher that went for the brassicas, was on that hearings panel time after time after time. They ended up getting him off. They never admitted that, but I brought it up, the conflict, when he was going through the ag research, the animals later applications. He was in for the first iterations of decision, and then he might have a conflict that used to work for ag research. More than that, he said that we should be going GE flat out. And then a few months later he bowed out and wasn't there for the final decision, but he'd been in there for the substantive part. These people looked at what the staff did, and they came up and they said, these things are not considered genetically modified, and therefore are not organisms for purposes of the Act, of the HASNO Act. So Scion, as far as we know, they haven't done any out yet, but they've got the nod from the EPA that there's a zinc finger, and I've got certain people that might be offended, might not look at my fingers. I think there's a new symbol we can do about a zinc finger, back to the EPA. Need something. This is the direction they're going. Because what do you do if you're having difficulty with the regulations? You find a way around them, or, as I think is coming up, you change them. I think they're doing both. I think you have to fight back really hard. And then I just put a clip out of somebody else's paper actually and changed a couple of words, but effectively say the same thing. Cisgenics is the other one, where they take, particularly wanting to do it around ryegrass, but it could be out of anything, where instead of doing like a strawberry or a toad gene into a strawberry, they'll use a ryegrass gene into it, shift it around in a ryegrass. Our scientists tell us it's exactly the same risk in terms of new proteins and the risks and from insertion and all of that are just the same. So that's the other one to look out for, this new thing, and cisgenics if they'd love to. So GE contamination is not okay. I'll just say what I've been doing in terms of a Green Party MP. I've done a GE moratorium bill. I've put that in the ballot. I have taken it out because I want to modify it, not genetically, a lot more to have it absolutely ready to go should we be so lucky to be part of government in 2014. It needs to be synced in with a whole bundle of other acts. It's not just under how that works. I may put it back in before then, but it's just needing a bit more work. Amend the patents bill. I've got a supplementary order paper to get organisms and traits of organisms out of the patents bill, so that's coming up quite soon. And of course I carry on supporting the NGOs, and there was something, there was other stuff we're doing, and some of that relates around the food bill. I think through a lot of negotiation with them, with the Minister of Food Safety, previous one and the current one, and everybody's pushback around the food bill. We've got genetic modification back in there as something that can be considered as a food safety issue. And we're also, the petition you did on the march, that's been presented to Nikki Kay by Claire Blakely, and we're, and that should be tabled, I'd say, this coming week in Parliament. That will mean that will come back to a select committee for consideration. We're just not sure which one yet because the Speaker gets to decide that. The other thing is, GE Free New Zealand has made a complaint to the Regulations Review Committee over the last genetically engineered food that was approved in New Zealand, and that was a genetically engineered soy, there's the maize as well, tolerant against 2,4-D, I think glyphosate and I think glufosinate, but there's 3 different herbicides. The US Department of Agriculture has actually pulled it back in and said actually over there, they haven't even released it for commercial release yet our Food Standards Australia and New Zealand has given it the tick. So she's appealed that decision and we hope that we'll roll it. I think that's me, and I'll get ready for Bob and stop him going to, I've stretched him. He flies out very early in the morning, so